that's why these people that like have no systems and processes can still be successful, because they're just freaking hammering. They're just, all right, conversation after conversation after conversation, offer after offer after offer. They may not be great, they may not be good, but it's just a numbers game for them.
Yeah, I'll show you how to get it, but you have to be willing to do the work. The Syndicate, it's a motherfucking movement.
You ain't gotta be perfect, long as you down to put the work in. If when it comes to the bullshit you allergic, well, you just might be my kind of person. Welcome to the Syndicate, where real estate wholesaling is what the business is. Ain't gotta talk about it when you out here living it. So if you out here getting it, then welcome to the Syndicate. Welcome to the Syndicate. Welcome to the Syndicate.
You guys listen to another episode of the Real Estate Wholesaling Syndicate Podcast. Very excited to have my good friend Drewbie Wilson with us today. Drewbie, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, Ky, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here, and especially after being a part of your amazing event here about a month or so ago at this point. Excited to be back and hanging out with you, man. It's always a good time.
Same here, man. That's crazy. It's already been a month. I mean, it feels like it was just yesterday. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy how time flies. But man, you crushed it on stage. I got so much positive feedback. Everyone loved your speech on calling the damn leads. And yeah, I love the whole brand. I love the podcast. I love the mantra, I guess, like, for a better word. But yeah, because it's so important. I mean, I feel like everything you want is on the other side of calling the damn leads.
It really is. And that's really all it is it's just a mantra for doing the work, right? And that's one of the things in my own life when I look back at the brands that I've built between Call the Damn Leads and Crushing the Day. It's always just going back to the mantra of doing the work, because the work is what gets you the results. And what work you do is a decision that you make every single day, right? Whether you're working on your personal life or your professional life, it's just one of those decisions that we make, and doing the work is ultimately what gets the results. So that's what it's all about.
100%. Yeah, everyone likes to look for the shiny object or the new sexy thing, but it's really doing that boring shit that could probably got you to where you're at. If you just keep doing it, it's going to get you even further.
Yeah, it's funny because the boring stuff is the stuff that it is the money maker. And I understand why it feels sexy to go and get like all these automations or these different shiny tools that exist. And some of them are important, but they're tools to help you do the thing that you're supposed to be doing. And if you're not doing the main thing, which is picking up the phone and having conversations with people, or texting people and having conversations, or emailing them, because, it's 2024 and communication style, like, they vary. But if you're not actively going out and reaching out to other humans and having conversations about your product or service and how it can benefit that person, I mean, I don't know how you put money in the bank.
Same. Yeah. No, I think it's literally the most important thing. I feel like every time I get myself in a slump or I look back and I'm like, I wonder why things aren't going my way. If I look back on my last 30, 60 days of activity, I dropped the ball there. But every time my pipeline's good and I'm crushing it, I'm like, oh, this shit's so easy. It's because I did the work and I called the damn leads for the last 30, 60 days.
Planted those seeds.
Yeah, 100%. But I love it, man. And looks like you're in your RV now. I know you guys just hit the road. You want to kind of share a little bit about your new journey you're on?
Yeah, so I can't move things around because the desk is all tied down here, but it is a 40-foot fifth wheel trailer. We literally downgraded. We are in the process of cleaning out our house. We just moved everything out of it this past weekend. We are now full-time in our trailer living the nomad lifestyle, man. It's kind of crazy. Back in 2021, one of the mentors I was working with at the time was like, hey, I want you to do this exercise for me, and I want you to write out what your perfect day would look like. And not just one, but 2 days, your perfect work day and your perfect day off. Because at this point, man, I love to work and we love to work. So none of us have the FU money where we can just like hang out and do nothing. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do on a day where you're putting in the work? And what are you going to do on a day where you're actively not putting in the work? Because at some point we do have to rest. If you burn it at both ends, you're going to burn out at some point. So what are you doing to take time off and to rest? And like, what would that look like from sun up to sundown? What would the day look like? And in that process, one of the things I was thinking is like, me and my wife and our son, we'd wake up in one of 5 or 6 different cool locations. Maybe one's on a beach, maybe one's, in the woods somewhere. Maybe one's back home in Ohio where her family and our family's from. It would just be these different places that we could stay and wake up in because we love to travel. Our family, like, we just love to go and explore and see new things. In that vision that I had through the exercise, I had to own the properties. I had to have a property management company who was running all the back end for us and doing the Airbnb and all that kind of stuff, because if you're going to own 5 or 6 properties, you're going to have to A, have a shitload of money first to do it, and B, you're going to have someone to manage them and take care of them. And like, it was just a whole big process. I'm not at a point in my life where I'm ready to have that many properties or be responsible for that many people. So that was kind of a bummer. And then I realized, though, as we started traveling together as a family, we ended up buying a camper. We took it across the country a couple times. And while I was in the camper working, I was waking up in different cool locations, still getting to be with my family, still getting to work and operate and run my business, and thought, well, shit, that vision could be more true than I realized. I don't have to own those properties. We can move into a condo on wheels and drag our house with us anywhere we want to go. And so at first it was kind of just a pipe dream, but like, we literally made the decision, my wife and I, we sat down and said, all right, well, is this what we really want? What are we willing to do to make it a reality? And what are we willing to sacrifice to make it a reality? Because we do have to give some things up. Like I said, 2,000 square foot home with a pool, nice neighborhood, walking paths, all the things that most normal individuals would be like, if you have this, you're set, you're doing well. We're giving all of that up so that we can start over for this nomad lifestyle, because to us, this is what success will look like. Perspective for success on our life is traveling, taking our son, getting to experience all these things and doing so together. And so that's what we're building, man. It's kind of a wild ride. We're not 100% sure what it's going to look like or how it's going to go just yet, but we're excited to have made that decision and gone all in on it, which just goes right back to, hey, if you call the damn leads, you can kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah, 100%, man. I love that, man. I feel like, yeah, we were, Bree and I were watching YouTube one day, and somehow we came across the people living the RV lifestyle. I'm like, these people got to fucking figure it out. Just waking up on the beach and all these different cool spots, and like this coffee spots, and like they're making coffee and just planning their day out. I'm like, oh, that's the goal. And I'm like, it's crazy. Like, just when you start to think about things differently, like it might not be as far as you think, and there's so many different ways to get it.
Yeah, and again, success is perspective. We may get 3 months into this, 6 months into this, and realize, this isn't as green as we thought it was from the other side of the fence. Mm-hmm. And also, we may get into it and realize, like, hey, what made us take so long to do this? We've talked about it, but like, why did we wait so long? You don't know until you take action. You don't know until you make that decision and actually go for something. And I think that's the hardest thing, and especially when it comes to like wholesale real estate. You meet all these people that say, hey, I want to get into real estate. I want to get into real estate. All right, well, how many calls are you making every day? How many offers are you making? You were talking about this from stage yourself. Like, what are you doing to actively be in wholesale real estate? And a lot of them are like, well, I'm waiting for the right time. I'm waiting until I have a certain number of money in the bank. I'm waiting until X, Y, Z. Well, why wait? You're just delaying the result. And unfortunately, most people that are waiting for the perfect time, it never shows up.
100%. Yeah, no, it's never perfect. I feel like perfect's just an excuse for procrastination. I know someone said that better than I did, but there's whatever the quote is. But yeah, I feel like procrastination is literally just waiting for that perfect moment, because it's never going to be perfect. And it's literally just doing the work. One of the questions I ask myself every day is like, what's the most important thing I can do today to move the ball forward? And it's literally calling the leads or spending. For me, I like to do prospecting blocks and just have that 2-hour prospecting block. And if I know I do that every day, I'm going to find those wholesale deals. I'm going to find those somehow, some way. It always works out if I just do the fucking work.
It's a crazy thing, man. It's like anything in life. Whatever you're trying to accomplish, there are steps that you have to take to get there. There are actions that must be done in order to get the result. And usually those actions have to be done in a specific order. And here's what you and I see a lot of times is people are like, oh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do all this marketing. And it's like, cool, you spent all this money and you've got all these leads, but what's your process for those leads? How many did you call? How many did you actually convert? And they're like, I don't know. I spent 10 grand on marketing. And it's like, okay. And what did you get from that 10 grand? I don't know. I think I got a deal or two. Well, what if you got no deals from that? Was it worth spending 10 grand on? People don't go that far, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, to me that drives me. I don't know. It for me almost like gives me anxiety thinking like people always drop all this money in marketing and like don't know where their deals are coming from, or I'm like just flying blind. That's wild.
This is the business though, man. And that's what's crazy about entrepreneurship is you can be successful with very minimal amount of like smarts or skills by just like dumb luck and repetitive doing the work. And you can be very successful without having to work hard and without having dumb luck and constant stress if you just sit back and you build a system and a process that you follow, which is something that you again talked about, having a great script. What's the conversation that you're having? Can you even tell me what you're going to talk about when you get on a call with these leads that you're paying for marketing for? So many people don't even know that. They don't know how many touch points they have. They don't know if they have a team, what their team is saying to people when they're on the call. That's the scary thing. It's like, hey, you're investing all this money to get leads and then you're handing them off to someone and you have no idea what that person's doing with them. Like, whew.
Yeah, 100%. I'm always amazed when like people have success or like some like success at all. They like don't have any systems or don't like have a CRM and they're working off like an Excel spreadsheet. And I'm just like,
pure hustle muscle.
That's wild, man. Like kudos to you. Imagine if you did have those things, like how much further you could be. But it's just wild. I'm like, you're paying for leads and you're just looking at a Google Sheets or Excel sheet and try to color code. I did it when I first started, so like I'm not knocking it, but like there's just like such a better way.
I'm not knocking it either, but you know what? And this is something that I'll talk about for me personally being guilty of. It's like getting too far into building the systems and processes. And I'm kind of an integrator and a nerdy person at heart. So like there are times when I'll catch myself working on a follow-up process or a flow or something. And I'm like, shit, I've been working on this for like 45 minutes. This is going to be great, but I probably should go pick up the phone and call some damn leads because, while the systems and processes are great, they're only as good as you implementing them. And the only way to implement a follow-up sequence is to have a conversation with someone that needs to be followed up with. So I've seen a lot of people that will tell you, hey, let me show you all the back end that I've built. I've built this website. I've got this system and all these things, these automations, this AI tool, all this stuff. And it's like, okay, but how many conversations are you having every day?
Yeah.
Well, not very many. It's like, well, what's the point of all these tools then? Like you could still be picking up the phone and calling. Like you're not to the point where you're so overwhelmed that you need those things. Mm-hmm. Why is all your time being spent on them? And again, I know I'm speaking from personal experience. Like I find myself in that situation.
Same. Yeah, no, it's me a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I go through the ups and downs, the cycles like everybody does. But yeah, I'm like, I'm going to do this project and I'll drop the ball in other areas and just focus on this. Like we just redid the whole Wholesaling Syndicate website. Yeah, after we grabbed dinner and we're talking about it, I'm like, I got to get my SEO on point, start doing this stuff and doing all this other stuff. Might as well put these backlinks somewhere. So I did it and then took way longer than I thought it would. It's probably at least like 3 weeks, a couple like 48-hour nonstop working sessions. And then I'm done. I'm like, oh, I'm done now. And I'm like, oh, but I'm fucking behind in everything else. And like, I'm not, I'm done, but it's like, it's cool. It's there now, but it's, it's definitely the best way, speaking from experience is to fucking do all the things and balance. And like, you don't have to drop the ball on everything else to do one thing.
Well, like you said, if you put in those call blocks, you're like, all right, cool. From this time to this time, I'm on the phone. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not on the phone with somebody, I'm actively trying to find someone to be on the phone with. And that's the thing. That's why I talk about the 100-10-2 rule is if you can make 100 outbound attempts a day, have at least 10 conversations and close 2 sales, you're having a kick-ass day. If you get 2 out of 3, you're having a pretty great day. If you just do 1 out of 3, it's a good day because you're still putting in the work, but it's about the compounding effect. And the more conversations you have, the more offers you make, the more deals you're going to close in the end. Because that's why these people that like have no systems and processes can still be successful because they're just freaking hammering. They're just, all right, conversation after conversation after conversation, offer after offer after offer. They may not be great. They may not be good, but it's just a numbers game for them. And that's where I believe that finding people who are really successful learn how to balance the numbers game with the technical side so that they can focus their time and energy on the things that generate the biggest ROI, because you can't have accurate measurements and KPIs and result like data if you're not actively working both sides of that system.
100%. Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act or dichotomy or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's finding that sweet middle ground area to make sure you're still doing the work, but you are making sure you're tracking what you're doing and make it easier on yourself. But man, one of the things I loved, you just dropped another book called The Damn Leads. I was reading through the book, and I love kind of how you explained, the different stages you put, I guess, in pipeline for your things. You kind of want to run people through how you organize that, since we're talking about systems and like how you organize your leads.
So let me backtrack a minute to kind of give some context as to why I built this system the way that I did and how it's developed over 10 plus years at this point. So it all started originally when I got into selling insurance. They sat me down at a computer with a Polycom voice over IP phone and then printed out an Excel spreadsheet for me to call leads from. So like, I don't understand the logic of like printing out an Excel sheet for me to call when I'm sitting at a computer. I was like, can you just send me the sheet and I'll just work from there? Like, no, you got it. Anyways, long story short, I walked down to the dollar store. I picked up some highlighters and a ruler, red, green, yellow, and a ruler. And as I called through that list, if they told me to fuck off, I scratched them red. If they said, hey, call me back another time, I hit yellow. And if they had a conversation with me, I put them in green. And I just worked through probably 100 pages of leads this way. And it wasn't pretty. It was a lot of red and a lot of yellow and maybe one green every couple of pages. But this was my like cutting my teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And then, a month or two into doing that, someone from corporate came in and was like, well, hey, if you have the CRM tool, you can organize all this. And then, it tracks all your notes. We were like, well, what the fuck is a CRM? That sounds pretty sweet. Let's get one of those. And my boss, he loved investing in technology. He was one of those guys that would buy like every shiny thing thinking it was going to make it rich, but he didn't want to do the work once he got the thing. God love him. And I understand. But so when we got the CRM, I'm one of those techie dudes that was like, all right, well, if I know that my process means I have a certain number of touch points throughout the phase or the lifespan of this lead, how can I automate it and make sure that I'm hitting them and not dropping the ball? Because if I'm spending, not me personally, but if the boss is spending $15 to $20 per lead and I'm getting 10 leads a day, that's $200 a day that he's investing into me being successful. So like, what do I got to do to break even on that and or make profit for the company? So I started building out these stages and I'm like, all right, well, if they come in and I haven't had a conversation with them yet, it's still a new lead. That means that they're just kind of new information. There's no real surety of if we can help them or not. And those new leads, I want to contact them a certain number of times in the first 30 days. So that's my 30-day follow-up process for new leads, which I go into in the book. I won't get into it here. We'll make sure they go get the book and read it so they can learn some things. But that new leads category, the new lead stage, is all about anyone who's come in that I have not had a serious conversation with yet. Once I've had a real conversation with them and I've gone through, asked my pre-qualifying questions, built the rapport, done everything, if I've made them an offer and they didn't close during that first call, which I'm just going to be real with y'all, I have a 36% close rate. So I ain't I close every deal. No, hell no. I'm successful because of these processes and stages that I've built, because over time, 37% of 1,000 leads, 10,000 leads, you do the math. So first 30 days, if we have a conversation, they're a hot lead. And that means that I've made them an offer and I need to stay in front of them consistently for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Because if they haven't decided to buy right now, there's a 4 to 6 week timeline after that where I'm still trying to get them to put their credit card information in and become a part of our program or sign the contract or whatever. After 6 weeks, I just have to assume someone's kind of fucking me around for the most part. And then I'll move them into a further stage, which would be like a warm leads. They go from hot to warm. And warm is someone that's gone through the process, had a conversation, and they're him-hawing around, right? They're going to be that 3 to 6, maybe even 12 months of follow-up before they're ready to take action. And in wholesale, this is a great, understanding. You may talk to somebody today and they could be still 6 to 12 months before they're in that bad of a pain point where they're ready to do what they got to do to get out of there. But if you can stay top of mind and just pop up in front of them every couple of weeks or once a month, great opportunity. So just to recap, we've got new leads, anyone in that first 30 days with no conversation. We have hot leads, which is someone we've had a conversation with and we're actively trying to close. And then we have warm leads, which are those people that we know we've had a conversation with, but they're still, let's say, 6 to 12 months out from a purchase. And then there's 2 additional stages after that. There's cold leads, which is anyone who has been non-responsive for more than 60 days and or who has come in a new lead and not responded in that first 30 days. So anyone that doesn't respond or doesn't follow up, they go to cold leads, and I reach out to them every 60 days with a drip campaign. They get different emails, value add, just kind of depends on what the situation was or where they came from. They go into a dead leads or a cold leads category to just kind of drip. And then closed or won business. This is a stage of the process that I think so many people forget. If you've already helped someone, they know, like, and trust you, they've given you money, they've done business with you, why are you not continuing to actively build that relationship and ask for referrals, ask for repeat business, ask for more opportunity? This is something that I see so many business owners, entrepreneurs, sales professionals miss out on, is they don't go back to the people they've already worked with and ask for more business.
Right. Yeah, no, it's like the easiest low-hanging fruit. I mean, these people, you already did all the work and they know, like, and trust you. And even especially with wholesaling, it might be, they know they have multiple properties or they know other, people that have properties, especially like small towns. Most of those people know each other. So
I was like going to say, in wholesaling, especially if you can help Miss Johnson get out of her situation, and everybody on the block knows Mrs. Johnson because she's got a jacked up house and she's been living there for 60 years. And, she's a crazy old lady on the block, but maybe you do help her. And then all of a sudden, the other couple houses on the block that are not as bad, but still in a situation of like, hey, man, if this dude will cash me out, I'm getting the fuck out of this neighborhood.
Right.
Guess what? Now you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 more opportunities that you could potentially wholesale or flip. Maybe you buy out the whole dang block, but you don't know if you don't keep talking to Mrs. Johnson or keep showing up in their pipeline and actually making people aware that you can help them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I think that's literally one of the biggest things people miss. So before, I know we probably should have went into kind of your bio. I totally skipped that because I was just excited to talk to you. But yeah, do you kind of want to give people a quick background on who you are and what call?
Yeah, so I mean, call the damn leads, Drewbie Wilson. I am a sales professional at heart. I've got more than 20 years of sales experience. I've sold insurance, furniture, digital marketing, consulting, masterminds. I've bought and sold a couple of houses, not myself. I use real estate agents, but I did a lot of the negotiating on the back end. So I'm playing my part because, retail agents, God love them, but they're not always the brightest. They're okay. I'm just messing with y'all. Point being, though, I've been in sales a long time. I grew up in the streets. I've sold a lot of stuff. And what I've learned for me is that there's 2 things. One, I'm introverted, so I really don't like people. I don't like going out in public. It's funny that I stand on stage and speak for a living now because it's literally that thing that makes me feel very, very awkward. Like, I don't know, I got to get out of here. And also, in being successful in my journey comes back to doing the work. I used to be over 300 pounds. I was making $30,000 a year as an insurance producer. I wasn't living the life that I knew I was capable of, so I made a decision to change. I made a decision to be the man that I promised my wife and my son that I would be. And in doing so, it just came back to doing the work. Started with crushing the day. I was like, all right, I'm going to get up early. I'm going to go crush the day. I'm going to fuck things up. I'm going to win, and I'm going to be successful. And that put me into a position that I never thought I would be. And then at that point, it was like, okay, well, what's the next level up? How do I go from where I am to where I want to be next? Well, now I got to pick up the phone and I got to call the damn leads because I've got the skill set. I've got the mindset. I've got the determination. Now we got to go do the work. Let me go call these damn leads. Let me help more people because the more people I help get what they want, what does Zig Ziglar say? You help enough people, you're going to get what you want. Funny enough, 3 years later, 4 years later, here I am in this freaking RV about to start traveling the country for the next couple of years because I pick up the phone, I call the damn leads, I have conversations with people, I ask where they're at, what they're going through, and then I provide them solutions so that they can get to where they're trying to go. Because again, success is perspective. What I see is going to be different than what you see, is different than what all the people who are commenting on this thread see. However, we all agreed that if we're good people and we know, like, and trust each other, at least to the point where we want to help each other win, then if we just do the work and we show up and we provide that value, it's always going to pay off in the end. It's the craziest thing. That was like the big lesson I learned was I was figuring things out. I was getting mentored and they're like, okay, cool. Well, I'll mentor you. but I need you to take it back to the next person and train them. And I went, that's fucking stupid. Why would I help them if I'm going to be successful? Like, I don't want them to get all the skill set I have. And it was that scarcity thinking that held me back. And when I flipped that switch and I just focused on how am I going to learn everything that I'm learning in such a way that I can now take it back to the people who are around me and help them learn, my life has never been the same. It's the wildest journey, dude. It's so cool.
Oh, that's great, man. Yeah, I feel like that's definitely things a lot of people struggle with, the scarcity mindset, especially depending on how you grew up. It's definitely there's a lot of baggage there as far as looking at everything in a certain lens. But yeah, I feel like there's so many reasons that it's like good that I've learned as I've gotten older to help others. Is one, I mean, it's just the right thing to do. Like two, it's like when you teach somebody something, I think Jim Quick says, when you teach something, you get to learn it twice, which I already learned it, which I already liked, because you do get to learn it again when you're teaching it, and like you have to prove that you really know it to be able to teach it. And then it forces you to level up too, because if you're teaching them all your stuff, you got to go, make sure you're still staying above if you're competitive and, getting that next level up.
Absolutely. And that's the thing I love about being in the rooms that I'm in now is that, hanging out with people like you and Bree, hanging out with the people from your event, it pushes me to think bigger. It pushes me to get outside of my comfort zone and to think outside the box, because even though you and I may have a different version of success, seeing the way you're going about achieving your version may give me an idea or insight on how to go and achieve mine. And when we get these, raw conversations, kind of when we went out after the event and had some conversations, it was like, we got to go really deep and I got to learn some things about you and say, okay, well, now I understand where certain parts of this drive come from. Now I can see where he gets that hustle mentality and also why he's such a humble and amazing human being. And it's that deeper relationship that we can build that allows me to think, okay, cool. Hey, here's a guy who inspires and motivates me and somebody that I can learn from and who I can benefit from being around. Because again, when you have these conversations with people like the folks in your wholesaling syndicate, you get a perspective that you wouldn't have had, because most of us just live in this little box. We have this tunnel vision of what we are doing or the life that we're on because we're constantly grinding. And, over the years, we've been force-fed this hustle mentality and the gotta go have the Lambos and the Rolex and the fancy things. And I'm not shitting on material possessions. What I want people to understand is that what you want, what your version of success looks like is yours. Don't let someone else tell you that it's got to be a certain way for you to be successful. And that's where I think so many people get hung up, Ky, is they're like, well, it's not actually success until this because so-and-so said that. Well, the fuck does so-and-so have to do with your life? If they're not paying your bills, if they're not putting you in a position to have more, then why do you care about their opinion? Why does their version of success have to be your version? If that's what you want, great. But the comparison game is like the thief of joy. It will literally keep you from being who you're supposed to be because you're spending all your time and energy comparing yourself to someone who ain't you. Be you. And more people will want to do business with you. And that's when things really take off.
100%, man. I think that's great, man. Thank you for all the kind words. I feel the exact same way about you and Kayla. You guys are awesome people. Really appreciate all the support you guys did for the event and help make it happen. And you guys are awesome. But yeah, man, I think that's such a great point. I feel like one of the biggest reasons, at least from my perspective, is that people get in that comparison trap or they get in that mindset and worrying about what people think about them is because they just never sit down and say, what the fuck do I want? What do I actually want in life? What does success mean to me? What is my perfect day like? And that perfect day exercise you mentioned, so impactful. I mean, if you've never done it, I highly recommend doing it. Can you kind of explain what that perfect day exercise is if people have never heard about that?
Yeah, 100%. So I'll tell you, first and foremost, I swiped this from Frank Kern. If you go to Google and type Frank Kern core influence, there's like a 3-hour-long video where it's from some marketing thing in the 90s or something. But Frank goes into this really long story about marketing and how to be a great marketer and generate more business. But he also goes through this exercise about the perfect day. Because when he's talking about, marketing and getting in the mind of your client, it's understanding what do they do all day? What do they think about? What are they going through? What emotions are they having? And when you reframe that for yourself and you start saying, well, if I were to wake up today and I were to live the perfect day, and I'm not saying you hit the lottery and you go crazy and you get a bunch of cocaine and hookers or whatever, some people think that would be the perfect day is an unlimited abundance. That's not perfect. It's not sustainable. If you woke up every day and you had a sustainable lifestyle that was just awesome and you got to just feel good and go to bed feeling like you did all the things you want to do, what would that look like? Where would you wake up? What would you wake up in? Who would you wake up around? What smells? What flavors? What would you have for breakfast? What kind of emotions would you have? What sort of things would you do? Literally go minute for minute from the moment you open your eyes and take your first breath to the minute you lay down and close your eyes at night. What would that look like? What routines would you have? What would you do every day? Who would you spend time with? What kind of things would you spend time on? If you get really, really intentional about this and you write it all down in detail and then keep looking at it, guess what starts to happen? You start actually doing the things that you're going to need to do to make that a reality. And some of it's consciously because you're looking at it going, well, if I want to have more money, I got to make more sales. Well, if I want to make more sales, my biggest thing right now is I need more leads. Okay, well, where do I need to go to get more leads? Or who do I need to hire to help me get more leads? You're going to start thinking these things out because it's clear. It's right in front of you. The biggest issue, Ky, is most people just wake up and they react to the day. It's like, all right, well, what's going on? I got to do this. And then like this thing's fucked up. So I got to go put out this fire. And now this person's calling me. So I got to pivot and go do this thing. But if you woke up and you said, hey, every day, this is the kind of stuff I'm going to do. And this is what I'm going to focus on doing. All the other stuff, like you create these boundaries and it doesn't become an issue in your life anymore. You don't spend all your time and energy worrying about putting out someone else's fire, or you know, you're working for someone who's got too much shit going on in their own life and suddenly you can't do your job because you're involved in what they have going on and it's not doing anything to benefit you, but your time and energy is spent thinking about them. It happens. I know it's happened to me. It's happened to you, Ky. Like all of us are guilty of it, but it's that decision of saying, okay, this is what I want. This is how it's going to happen. This is, you know, line by line, how this is going to go. It's amazing. It may not happen overnight, but like you'll look back 5 months from now, 6 months from now, a year, a couple of years and be like, oh man, I can't believe some of this is actually happening now. This is crazy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's funny you say you got it from Frank Kern, because I got it from Tony Robbins. It's like one of his older books in the 80s. And it's funny, like there's like the line of like the stuff that like works. It's funny, like it works so well that people pass it down because it's just that fucking good. But yeah, for me, it was real weird. I did it before we moved to Texas and it was like uncanny because like I was reading it all the time before we moved down here and I was like looking it over, envisioning myself in that day. And there was just one day I like realized I woke up and I went through some of my old notebooks. I'm like, wow, it's like fucking uncanny, like how like close it is like to be in my dream day every day.
Manifestation is the weirdest thing, Ky. And I like it took me a little while to really understand it and kind of like embrace it. But I have a tattoo above my right knee of Hank Hill in the pimp hat, and it's right in front of the state of Texas with the Texas flag in it, and it says, "Let's talk business." I'll have to send you the picture of it if I can find it. We'll put it up with the episode.
Yeah.
And I got this tattoo 3.5 years before I ever even thought about Texas being an option of like living here. I put this on my body because I've always loved The King of the Hill. It's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah,
there's an episode of King of the Hill with Snoop Dogg where he's a guest and he plays a pimp from Oklahoma City. And like Hank Hill becomes an inadvertent pimp. He doesn't even realize it. He's just out macking all over town. And the Let's Talk Business thing was, to me, is like, I'm a businessman. And in that scene, Snoop pulls up and he's like chasing Hank through town. And Hank hops out of his car and he looks at Snoop and he's like, "Get out that jalopy and let's talk some business." And it was like Hank just really steps into being the man. And it was just like something about that I really love. So I got the tattoo because I'm kind of an idiot and I got silly tattoos all over the place. But, you know, looking back, here I am. I've moved to Texas. I built an entire career out of talking about business, being on podcasts, speaking from stage, consulting business owners and entrepreneurs. When I got this tattoo, man, I was like a pot dealing, insurance slanging hustler, just goofing around. But now I've manifested this whole career, this whole lifestyle out of something that was a joke. Just like Call the Damn Leads. It was a joke. I learned marketing so that I could sell more insurance, did well in that, had other people that hired me to do their marketing, did well in that, to a point where I had a lot of clients that weren't doing the work. I'd get them the leads. They wouldn't call them. They'd bitch and complain. They'd want a refund. And that's where Call the Damn Leads started, because I had one client in particular who I was like, I got 100 leads for. He said they sucked. I picked them up and started smiling and dialing. Got a bunch of people interested in the property that he had listed. Had one guy send a signed contract over, like, I'm good, I'm in. Where do I send it? So I call him like, bro, the leads don't suck. You suck. Call the damn leads. Here's your refund. And then it was that joke that turned into this brand that's now become like an e-commerce thing that I'm literally using to build and travel the country with, all from this weird manifestation of a silly tattoo of Texas to doing this exercise of like writing down what I really want out of life to seeing it, living it, and actively making it happen, dude. It's the wildest thing.
Yeah, 100%. So every time I hear someone complain about leads, I always like hear Alec Baldwin in my head. Like, the leads aren't weak. You are weak, dude. I'm like, to put that fucking topic down.
Real estate, brass. Oh, that's what it takes. I used to watch, like, every day before I started my day, I used to watch that. Like, I would watch a whole series. I'd watch the Glengarry. I'd watch the Boiler Room speech. Wolf of Wall Street, just get hyped, get fired up. Because that's the thing, man. Sales calls suck. It doesn't matter how successful you are. It doesn't matter, like, at what level you're in. Even the guys at the top still hate getting on sales calls because it's a fucking job. It's a work.
Yeah.
But it's what we do with that work that gets the result and allows us to live the life that we want to live.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's such a weird thing when you think about sales, because it's like, you do, no matter what, how long you've been doing it, you always kind of have this like reluctance to pick up the phone. You kind of always have this like no matter how like thick skinned you are, you're always kind of worried about rejection in the back of your mind, if you're not conscious of it. You're just like, it's weird. I don't know. It's I feel like it's a great analogy for life too, though, which is weird. I like sales is kind of like life. You're like doing the hard shit, and like it's just like a micro version of it, I guess. But it's it's weird, man.
You know what? It's funny. It's kind of like I always liken it to the gym. It's like, well, I don't want to go to the gym, but once I'm there and I've done a few reps, like, I'm good. Same thing with the phones. Like, usually you're like, I don't want to fucking call these, and then you start calling a couple, and then you get into your flow, and you're like, all right, I'm in the get. Like, I'm cool. I'm warmed up. Let's hit the phones, baby. Let's go. And that's the thing, is so many people won't take that first step of just making those first couple calls and getting into it and getting warmed up. And once you do that, man, you're just cruising.
100%. Yeah, I call it call reluctance, because if it doesn't matter how long you've done it, but like I've done it, legally since I was 18, like always in sales, and like no matter how long I've done it, like if I go on vacation where I take, for whatever reason, I focus on the wrong shit and I stop making calls, like as soon as it comes time and like I get this reluctance, I just don't want to make the calls. And the longer you wait, like the bigger the monster gets and the harder it is to kill. But it's every time I do it, like I said, it's not that fucking bad. I'm like, oh. And like everybody struggles with it. We talk about it in the syndicate all the time, but it's like everyone struggles with it, but it's never as bad as you think it is.
I think the big thing, and I had this conversation with a prospective client the other day, because she was telling me that she runs, it's like a nanny agency or something, like childcare providers. She's like, yeah, I have a team and I have all these leads, but the ladies, they're afraid to call. They're afraid to get on, and reach out to these people. And I was like, well, I mean, do they care? They're care providers. I assume they care about the people that they're helping, right? She's like, yeah. I was like, well, tell them to stop selling and start serving. Like, they don't want to get on the phone because they feel like they're being scammy or like salesy, and they're like doing something that's out of congruence with who they are as a person. But the truth is, if they care about people, well, hey, they're just calling to let you know. If you have children that need help, we care about children that need help, and we'd be willing to make that opportunity happen for you. This is what it costs. If your children are worth it to you, hey, guess what? We can help you. If you're just trying to pay $5 an hour to some random crackhead off of Facebook Marketplace to watch your kids, like, you can do that. But like, if you want to work with professionals that are licensed and insured and bonded and actually care about your children, this is what we do. And she said, I guess that makes sense. Now, I don't know if they'll hire me or not, because I gave them the game on what to do. Maybe they won't, but like, that's the other thing, man. Give people the game. Tell them what they need to be successful. Some will do it, some won't. And the ones that won't, they'll typically pay you to do it for them.
Right, 100%. And I feel like the smart ones will realize, like, wow, if that's what he gave me for free, I wonder how much other shit he's got.
I always give you the best stuff for free. That's the problem, is like the other stuff is actually like all the back end nerdery that you have to do to implement the thing. But That's the game.
That's
now.
true. I say the same thing, but I know I always think of it like I'm not going to not deliver value if someone hires me. I know you're the same way. It's like I'm going to fucking find a way. Like even if I do that stuff, I'm going to find some fucking more stuff. And the crazy thing is, the crazy thing is some of the things like we don't, or at least for me, I realize like, I'm like, oh, everybody knows this, or it's like, not that big of a deal. And it's like mind blowing for someone who's never done it. And it's usually like the routine, monotonous shit. That's like, wow.
You know what? There's, I should know this by now because this theme keeps coming up in my life, but you go through the levels of learning. I think it's the levels of knowledge, but it's basically, when you're born, you have conscious uncompetence. Like essentially you're conscious and you're aware, but you have no idea what the fuck's going on. And then you get to a point where you're a little bit older and it's like you're consciously competent. It's like, all right, I know what's going on. I'm alive, but I also know that there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. And you're like, all right, cool. And then you get to a point where you're consciously, you're like, all right, I know a lot of stuff. I'm good. And then at that final fourth level, you're like, I don't even know what I know. Like I've done this for so long and been doing this thing that I don't even realize the knowledge level that I have because it's just second nature. Right. Like driving a car is unconscious competence. Like you just know. You get in the car, you turn it on, you fire it up, and you go. You don't really have to think about it too much.
Yeah, it's almost effortless.
But if you were to get on a motorcycle, if you don't ride a motorcycle every day, it's still the same action, getting on and riding in a vehicle, but it's a different kind of action. So you're not going to have that same sort of competence level. Everything in life is the same way. Sales, 100%. Marketing, it's just all that level of complexity of thinking.
100%. Yeah, I was like thinking of like jujitsu because I think it's a great analogy for life. And there's like you go, you don't know that you suck. Like you're like, yeah, I'm good. I can fight. I've been in some fights in high school, and you get your ass beat, and then you suck. So you try to get better, and then you try to get better, but then you fight someone that's been doing it forever. It's like a black belt, and it's like effortless for them, and they just ruin your day. Don't even try.
They're just like holding you by the pinky, and you're like, yo, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
What's going on here? How did this happen?
Yeah, it's wild, man. But yeah, it's like literally every area, and it's just it's just something to be aware of for sure.
For sure.
Let's got a bunch of comments. Anyone has any questions, shop them. We'll switch over to Q&A. We've got Jamie LeBlanc. What's up, Jamie? Good to see you. We got Lucky, good to see you, man. Almost didn't see this one, John Cena on YouTube. I don't think it's the real John Cena, but
I hope it is.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to see him. So
we'd have missed that comment. If it didn't say something there in the onset. But it's like, man, it's a random stranger, I guess.
Right. I just watched, was it Ricky Stenicki on Amazon? It was funny. Yeah, he was in it. Yeah, it's a new movie on Amazon.
I'm gonna have to look for that one. I like John Cena. He's one of those dudes. It's like hard to not like him. Every role I've seen him in, dude, is just like pulls it off.
Yeah, no, he's great. Yeah, it's funny. I remember when The Rock first came in, like, oh my God, these wrestlers can't act, but now there's like a bunch of them.
Well, I mean, we won't ruin anyone's childhood or nothing with, the wrestlers that become fantastic actors. Right. Imagine how that happens.
Who knows?
I don't.
A lot of similarities between real fighting and acting, I guess.
I guess it's just one of those things. And that's, man, more than anything, even if nobody gives us any questions, I want to thank people that did show up and hang out with us today. Again, man, I talk about time being our most valuable asset. So if you spent some time here with us today, you've invested a little bit of it to learn something, maybe hear some things. And all we could really ask is two things, honestly. One, make sure you subscribe to the show. Share it with some other folks. If you got some value, screenshot it, tag us, point us out there on social media, send it to somebody that you think it can help, because that's why we do this. Ky doesn't show up and do this and put in the time, money, and energy to build a podcast like this or to set up his community for no good reason. He does it because he cares and he wants you guys to win. And I'm here because I care and I want you to win. So more than anything, go and do something with what you've heard here today, what you've learned here. That's the only thing that's going to get you any sort of result. Do the work, call the damn leads, go take action on the stuff you're learning, and make sure you're telling everybody about where you found it, because Ky's put in a lot of work to build this up. So just want to
appreciate that, man. Yeah, I know you have a badass podcast yourself. Same name, Call the Damn Leads. And yeah, man, I got to be a guest on it, and it's a lot of fun because, similar to this episode, just chopping it up and talking about sales, which is something I can talk about all day. And yeah, man, I think it's, definitely recommend checking out his podcast as well. If you want a cool bracelet like this one or hat, I'm not doing it right, but yeah, Call the Damn Leads. You get the cool hat too. Where can they grab that stuff?
That's all at callthedamnleads.com, man. One thing I've learned about branding is congruence. If you're going to brand yourself, your personal brand, your business brand, make it all make sense and make it all fall in line. So everything, anywhere you're trying to find me, if you Google Call of Damn Leads, it's there.
I love that. Nah, it's a great brand too. So we got David. What's up, David? Thanks for hopping on. We got Elizabeth on YouTube. Magia or something. Sorry if I butchered your last name. Thanks for hopping on. We got my boy Jonathan Laudermilk. So this episode should be called In Between Two Suds. I don't know if he's talking about bubbles or he meant to say spuds like potatoes or studs, but one of those.
That's so fun. Shout out to John Laudermilk. That dude, he and I go way back. He's an OG of the OGs. So shout out to my man Jonathan.
Yeah, he's one of my best friends, man. He's great people. So yeah, I definitely recommend following, giving him a follow too. I got Larissa. She said, hi, Pooks. I don't know what Pooks are. Someone said, shout out, please. I'll give you a shout. I don't, Skibbity Toilet.
Right on, Mr. Toilet.
Shout out to you. Thank you for hopping on. It's a fun name you got going on there. But, so where can you
That's what a skibbity is when you're on the toilet. That's going to send me down a Google rabbit hole for sure.
Right, yeah. Find some inappropriate sites.
That's it.
But yeah, man. So where to next on the RV journey?
So as of now, we're stationed here in Texas until the end of May, and then we are headed up to Ohio in June. We got some weddings and a couple things to do, and then we'll be headed all down the East Coast in 2024, South Coast this winter, and then up into the West Coast and Upper Midwest in 2025. Man, it's crazy to think that we've got a whole couple years worth of journey already planned out, and just gonna ride with the wind and see where we end up.
Yeah, that's awesome. How far are you guys going up the East Coast?
I kind of want to do 4th of July in Pennsylvania, wherever the Liberty Bell is. Something about ringing in the year with the Liberty Bell and fireworks sounds pretty fucking cool, because my birthday is on July 3rd, so I think that'd be fun. We might get all up into New York. I thought about heading up into like the upper, like Maine and Boston and all that kind of stuff, but it's what I'm man. I know.
Yeah, that's where you got. It's good up there, man. I get some recommendations for you. Bar Harbor's real cool. If you go up there, it's like scenic Maine when you think of it, show in the movies. Funny story about the Liberty Bell. You're not supposed to, and hopefully nobody's listening. But I touched it, and because they showed all these. Bree got pissed, but like they had all these pictures of these old, rich, famous people like touching Liberty Bell back in the day. I'm like, I'm gonna touch this motherfucker. No one's looking, so hope I stole some of its power, but we'll see.
My man. Like Nicolas Cage, we're gonna steal the Liberty.
Right. Gives him that old timey power. But
that's it.
Yeah, Philly's cool. Yeah, I've been to Philly a few times. I got a bunch of stuff there.
Nice.
So our first vacation we ever took, we stopped in Philly, went down to Virginia Beach, and we stopped there on the way. And I went on last time we went. I was a bit heavier back then, but I tried to find the best cheesesteak. I probably had like 12 cheesesteaks, and it was 12 different ones. I found the best one though. There's like I'll have to look up the name, but there's like this market. Blanking on the name. If someone's from there, they'll definitely know it. But there's this market with like all these different food vendors and stuff in there. And it's one of the ones in there. There's two of them in there. But yeah, one of the ones in that market. It had the best one for sure. Hands down.
Good to know. Well, I love food too, so I have to be careful because I'll eat 12 cheesesteaks accidentally. But I appreciate that. I'll keep that in mind. I'll definitely hit you up when we're up that way.
Yeah, I got a bunch of recommendations up there. Yeah, it's definitely a good time. And yeah, man, that's super exciting. I mean, we still want to do the trip and check out the whole West Coast. And there's so many places to explore. There's, you guys can have a great time.
Yeah, we're excited about it, man. And it'll be cool because we can show up, help people, do shows like this, keep providing value, and know that in the end, man, we get to have a great journey, set a great example, and help more people become live the life they want to live.
I love that, man. So going back to sales for a bit, what's been like? I know you've been VP of a big company. You've done sales at every different level. What tips would you have for someone that's brand new? They're trying to get better at sales.
Number one thing outside of call the damn leads would be have a series of 4 to 5 questions that you ask on every call. I call them pre-qualifying questions. And this is the easiest way to know whether or not you're in a position to help someone get the result they're looking for, whether getting out of the pain that they're in currently or getting them into the pleasure that they're seeking, because that's why people buy. They either want to get out of pain or into pleasure. So figure out what 4 to 5 questions you need to ask every single person on every single call so that you have the exact information you need to help them solve their problem or get the thing that they want. If you can do that, it's going to make it super easy to be consistent. It's kind of like having a great sales script. But those questions are important because you may not ask them the same way every time. It's just understanding that the information that comes from those questions is important. So if you can get those filled out, check all those boxes, then you're in a position to move forward with the offer or making the sale. And I think that's something that a lot of people skip. They just get a lead and they go right to, cool, let me sell you some stuff. And they haven't done the job of pre-qualifying. And when you pre-qualify, you're actually handling objections before they become objections.
Those are great. What are some examples? You give us like good pre-qualifying questions.
So typically what I like to ask is, A, what made you decide to reach out? Because it's like, hey, you're acknowledging that you had an interest in this to begin with. I like to ask, have you ever worked with someone on a project like this before? Because that kind of gives you some insight into experience, if they've ever had a good experience, bad experience, what that might look like. Or, do you have a budget in mind for this project? I think a lot of people will start asking for the sale to somebody that's not qualified to be able to afford their product or service. And so if I ask, hey, do you have a budget? And they're like, well, my budget's $1,000 and I know my minimum product is $10,000, then hey, no big deal. It doesn't sound like we're going to be a good fit to work together. My minimum is 10 grand. I'm not saying that you don't have that money, but if your budget's $1,000, we're just not in the same ballpark. So either A, we can look to find you someone that can work with you for that $1,000, or B, are you in a position to go and have another conversation about what that budget really would need to look like to get what you're asking for?
No, those are great. Those are super powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do similar ones here for real estate too. More, instead of the budget, like what kind of price are you looking for? And because it's for purchasing property. But all those, those are pretty much ones I have in my script verbatim.
I love it. A couple birds of a feather flock together, man. It's what's the quote that I've gotten? Methods are many, principles are few. Methods may vary, but principles never do. There's a lot of different ways to go out and make sales, but the foundation is always the same, and it's asking good questions, building rapport, and then confidently delivering that offer.
100%. Yeah, it's really 90% of the battle. And I feel like, it's like I said, this big thing most people skip over is just asking good questions. And like, honestly, I want to spend most of my time in the discovery and asking questions. And when you get them to do most of the talking, that's when you win.
Boom. That's it right there.
I love it, man. Well, brother, thank you for hopping on. I know I've got a bunch of great takeaways. Hopefully the audience did as well. If you guys have any other questions, make sure to drop them. I'll come back and make sure we get you an answer. And Drewbie, real quick, where's the best place for people to follow you and learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, at Call the Damn Leads on all the social platforms. If you go to callthedamnleads.com/free book offer, you can download the PDF of my recent book, Call the Damn Leads, read through it, grab some tactics, strategies that'll help you go out and close more sales, make more money, and get more time to live the life that you want to live. And again, if I could just remind you to make sure that you subscribe, share this show, tag us both on social media, let people know you got some value. That's how we'll know that we did something right. And more than anything, I look forward to having some conversations with those of you that were here with us today. And Ky, more than anything, I just want to thank you again, man. This has been fun.
Of course, man. We'll have to do this again soon.
Hey, this is Ky Logue. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I truly appreciate you. If you want more of this information and you want to see these actually recorded live, go ahead, join our Facebook group. It's the Real Estate Wholesaling Syndicate. It's right on Facebook. Google it, you'll find it. Type it on Facebook, you'll find it. I look forward to seeing you guys in there. We give a ton of free information in there, a bunch of free trainings, free courses. You get all the scripts, contracts, everything you need, A to Z, absolutely free. And I look forward to seeing you on the group.